Hello. Hello there. Hi. There we go. That was a good start. Oh dear. Just a second. I'll tell you what, let's do this. Hello. I'm here. I have water. Oh, can you hear me? How's it going? Hello, everyone. Particularly to the podcast people who are listening to this after the fact and have no idea what's going on and why I'm coughing. I have tea, Earl Grey, hot in here. Cannot smell it. Not a clue what this smells like. Which is annoying. I can slightly taste it. Tastes like overcooked Earl Grey. I've stewed it. It's annoying. Anyway, right. Forget that. Actually, maybe I'll pour a little bit more water in. I might undo the stewing. There. That'll do. Oh. Yeah, I've got coronavirus. Hi, everyone. I'm surrounded by positive LFTs, and I did a PCR a couple of days ago. So, it's a pandemic, anyway, right. Let's go. Let's get my miniaturized face up. In fact, so this is part 2 of the page showing through the transport decarbonisation. Oh, can smell/taste blood, which is possibly a good sign. It's hard to tell. Every now and then I get like a wasabi shot across my forehead, which it's all a bit weird. The wasabi shot. I don't know whether that's because the capillaries that are feeding my olfactory nerves in there are getting the overload because they're coming back, and so they're just going, oh my goodness, smell! Hard to tell. But anyway, yeah, so this episode comes to you with that guest being coronavirus. Because, yeah, I got there. Look. Oh, where's my Wacom? My Wacom's no good this episode. Other than me going, doing this, pressing Control P, and then going, look. It's the text I got saying, I've got it. So there's my PCR confirmation. Lovely. Oh, I cannot recommend it enough. What do I mean I cannot recommend it enough? I mean, I can't recommend getting jabbed enough, because it's bad, folks. So get vaccinated, because it's really bad, folks. Get vaccinated. Romy Adcrat says, Gareth, if you want to shut down the PC and go lie down, it's absolutely fine. No, damn it, we're going to get through this transport decarbonisation plan if it's the last thing I do. Here is the nice... Yeah, I've been using my whiskey collection as a thing to what's my guest drinking? My blood, possibly? Yeah. Anyway, thanks to all of you in the chat for your support, both here on Twitter and in the Discord and so on. It's much appreciated. So every now and then I'm going to have to press this to mute my coughs. Josephine, the challenge I had, and this is a problem because I was travelling this weekend. The challenge I had is I had my vaccination on Wednesday. Wednesday I was fine. Thursday, I was kind of knocked. I had a bit of fatigue, so I stayed at home. Did an LFT Friday morning, came up positive, and I thought that's probably vaccination side effects. Then went to work on Friday. Hence, this spread continues. Because I kind of felt fine on Friday morning. Actually, Friday afternoon the only real effect I had on Friday, weirdly, was muscle pain. I had a dreadful night's sleep on Friday night because I just felt like I'd been stretched. The challenge with that is that I did the York 10K pretty fast on the previous weekend, which might be where I caught it. Who knows? And so I thought, it must be weird delayed muscle pain from that. So again, I was like, not really thinking. Was out and about over the weekend, sort of mostly outside things. So I wasn't like going in and doing things, except on Saturday night when we went to the cinema. So it's yet another thing. All these things I've had to go test and trace. It's disastrous. So then it didn't feel too bad. But again, I was like, it's side effects. Done the LFT. So then Sunday did not feel too great. Did the LFT Sunday night, which went positive. I was like, okay. And then So Monday morning, so I booked in, immediately went onto the NHS, booked a PCR. That's what that text is as a result of. So yeah, that was at which point I was self-isolating. But it means I've spread around, and that's partly from my stupidity, but also that bit of confusion, really bad time with the vaccine. Also, the vaccine, I wouldn't have had the benefit of the second vaccine as well, quite like at the time that I was getting it, particularly if I got it at the 10k. But I don't know, the 10k was all outside, so that risk, but also it was quite packed at the start. I don't know. That to me feels like possibly the most likely candidate, but hard to tell. Yeah, so the train hopper. This installment is sponsored by the letter C and the number 19. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, no, thanks everyone for your kind words. And at the moment, I'm feeling better. I've got kind of my head's still a bit throbby. I'm trying to drink as much as I can. But anyway, yeah. So if you have coronavirus questions as to what it's like, then yeah, ask them throughout. But enough of that. Let's talk about So here we have our trend line. I've updated. See the wasabi thing just happened. Went up right the way up through. Oh, weird. Has anyone else had the wasabi thing after it's come back through? No, thanks, Josephine. Yeah, I was quite pleased with that. I did 55 the year before, and then 50 this year. Given that I'm super unfit from lockdown, I was not expecting to do 50. But I started among the hour to an hour and 5 people, and I just ended up spending the whole time doing that slightly long thing. You know, you do a slightly long pace to kind of overtake people without getting in their way. But I spent the whole time doing that, which is the way I'm explaining it. So here we are. We've got our nice yellow lines, which are explaining things that are happening. That's the best arrow I've drawn on here ever. Weird. So we have road vehicles continue to be, it's at 100%. You know, road vehicles broadly at 100%. Actually, that's a good point. I should just pull up the... if I pull... Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. If I go in here and pull up, this. You can actually pull up the data set and have a look. So it's interesting to see... I've just brought this up, actually, while we're here. Let's get the old Excel spreadsheet up, because I haven't done it, I haven't broken it down, but it's interesting to have a look at road traffic generally. Cars are bouncing around between 100, between 90 to 80, 90, and then 110%. So the kind of bit of fluctuation. But you can see here that the light commercial vehicles, HGVs, upwards of 125%, 130% almost. So currently, it's looking like a very much road vehicle-led recovery there. That's the raw data, by the way, if anyone's not seen it. So what else have we got? So we've got cycling, unhappily, is kind of continuing its descent, which is not ideal. The pattern of bus services, these fluctuations like heartbeats, is really weird. I don't exactly know what's going on with bus. I'm very confused by bus. Rail sort of continues its steady rise. It's between 55, 56 to 58% of previous usage at the moment. It's sort of bouncing around a bit. But anyway, there it is. Oh man, we're already 8 minutes in. I've said to myself I wouldn't do much at the start so we could get on with things. And in fact, I had a news piece in which I've subsequently cut back out again. Ella, you can get the data set and it updates. It's open data, so it updates. It's on the gov.uk website. I think there's an open data feed that automatically updates. Or maybe there isn't, and you have to go in and manually grab it. But anyway, you can do it. It's on the... In fact, I'll copy the link now. I'll do it right now. I have the technology. There you go. There's the link. So... For people asking how I caught it, I don't exactly know how I caught it, but I have been out and about. I don't do lots of high risk things involving huge crowds indoors. I haven't been at the pub, even when we've been at the cinema, which we have done a couple of times the last 2 weeks. It's not a cramped space. It's kind of but the cinema, it's a long time you're in the same space, so that's one risk. With the granularity of the data, is it daily? In which case, weekend versus weekday may impact relative percent values. Yes, James, you're absolutely right. I think you're right in that this fluctuation is that conflict of the fact. This is absolute. So this is a comparison. This is a comparison with I don't know what that is, with pre-COVID. I don't know why I needed to write that down. But the point is that it's as a percentage of. So you'd expect to see, if all of this was, I'd expect to see a sort of a steady rise in comparison. Probably not that steep, to be honest, but you'd expect to see a generally steady rise because people travel more year on year. So you'd expect to see a slight increase in that. Ideally, then a slight decrease in road, but obviously we haven't. It's not normal times, so we're seeing this sort of chaos. And yeah, you're right. It's the fact that it's comparing date on date, which doesn't quite match up. So some of those are weekend, some of those are weekday offset. So yeah, sorry, that was James P pointing that out. Thanks, James P. It's a very good point. Cinema's safe because hopefully no one's talking. Yeah, but people are breathing in the same room, so that's one possibility. The York 10K is another. Yeah, I've not been anywhere that's not well ventilated. Work is pretty empty. I have been to work, but work is pretty empty. Although it is again all day, but I haven't sat in close proximity. We're all socially distanced. I mean, the aircon will be dreadful because it's a 2008 or 2006 development, so absolute bottom dollar cheapest junk. So it'll be the aircon might as well. It's probably worse. Everything's getting collected and then pumped at us individually. So anyway, but. It is what it is. Sorry, I know you're not all here to hear about coronavirus. Some of you have had it a lot worse than me, or had friends or family who've suffered a lot worse than me. So I shall stop harping on about it. Sorry. But yeah, equally, if you do have any questions, Labrat here can answer them. Right, the news. Let's do the news. So yes, just one news item really, which is that we're nearly screwed. Everything's getting worse year on year. The IPCC have published the first of 3 parts of their 6th assessment report. I saw lots of people reporting that this is their final report as part of their 6th final report. It's not. There's other bits to report yet. This is just the bit saying, look, at the science is right. Quit your jibber jabber. So yeah, basically, it does what it says on the tin. This is the Working Group 1, they talk about the fact that it's climate change is widespread, rapid, and intensifying. Many of the changes observed in the climate are unprecedented in thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. And indeed, here's Antonio Gutierrez saying, global heating is affecting every region on Earth, with many of the changes becoming irreversible. This is kind of annoying that it kind of got picked up a bit by newspapers and the like, going, we're past the point of no return, nothing can be done. It was a bit doom and gloom, and so there's a reason why I put "we're nearly screwed" up as the headline for this, because if we make the changes, we can survive. Meanwhile, here's everyone's favourite person who isn't Trump, Joe Biden, walking corpse himself. Here he is saying, we can't wait to tackle the climate crisis. The signs are unmistakable, the science is undeniable, and the cost of inaction keeps mounting. And then that was on the 9th of August, and then on the 11th of August, the White House put out a statement by Jake Sullivan, the NSA, so the National Security Advisor, making the statement of the White House urging OPEC Plus, to pump more oil monthly, more barrels. Fantastic. So yeah. Also, yeah, some people pointing out that Sicily just broke the European temperature record. Has that actually been confirmed finally yet? So yeah, so here we go. Here's the President of the United States. I suppose technically pumping out more of the Bernie stuff that we should be keeping in the ground is not inaction. So but anyway, basically, if we have the President of the US coming up with nonsense like this and actions like this, then we really are screwed. So yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. And yeah, basically, yeah, it's interesting. The train hopper's saying that their BF works in a insurance company. They pretty much assume climate engineering is an inevitability at this point, given how slowly we're acting, and that the US government is run by climate deniers. Yeah, the trouble is, so many people are relying on this FM stuff. The idea that there's going to be magical technology in the future. The Bill Gates option, which is don't do stuff now, keep everything basically as it is, and hope for magical future technologies to solve all our problems. That's currently the general approach assumed by the G7 governments, including ours. And as we've already seen in the first half of the report, there's quite a bit of that. in the Traction Decarbonisation Network strategy, which is what we're going to talk about for the rest of the episode without too many more distractions. We've already been nattering for 15 minutes and I've not even got started yet. So I think without further ado, and so that I can have a coughing fit, I should welcome everyone to tonight's Rail Natter. And as the click pop from my microphone fades away, yes, we're back to our little. Did you hear that click pop at the start by any chance, there, Ella? It was really good, wasn't it? I needed to click the mic off desperately because I had a cough coming. Is that what you're referring to? Anyway, ever so professional, yeah. Hey, Ella, are you baiting for bingo card sign off? That's naughty. Oh, anyway, yeah. Last time out, episode 72, we were doing the first half of this and we didn't finish it. And actually, the second half is potentially more of meat on the bones. So that's probably what we're going to spend more time on. So without further ado, let's do it. Let me go into the old PDF, and here we go. Let us do it. So if you remember previously, we'd gone through various bits. Let's not even recap. We've gone through some stuff, and we've now reached. In fact, can I? No, let's not risk it. We've now reached section 2B. So this is the plan in detail. We kind of went through 2A a bit, but now we're on to multimodal decarbonisation and key enablers. So this should be interesting. This is some more meat on the bones. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch. I'm going to capture cursor so you can see. There you are. You can see my mouse. That should help things. I'm also going to make my miniaturized face appear in the corner. Hello, everyone. Did you? Yeah. Anyway. Oh, crikey! I'm sorry about the click pot every time I click this. Tell me how bad it is. The click pot if I do this. Hopefully it's not too bad. I'm really sorry, audio listeners. It's just not what you need, is it? I'm not sure whether the click pop or me coughing is worse. Anyway, right. So yeah, stop going on about the bingo, everyone, and focus. So yeah, leave the chat so that people can ask questions. Right. So anyway, waffle. Ella gets to because Ella she's admin, so she has privileges. But anyway, right, I'll stop waffling. Delivering a zero-emission freight and logistics sector. So we kind of heard some loose words about, we'd had aviation and shipping kind of generically, hadn't we? So interestingly, I quoted these emissions in the last episode, didn't I? 19.5 million tonnes of CO2 equivalent in 2019. So I quoted that. 16% of the emissions are from HGVs. So let's see what their plan is. Is it from wiring HGVs? There's a nice train here with some containers on it, which is good. So they've got some headlines of what's happening. Let's go ahead and have a look. So that's the pretty graphic. Freight and logistics encompasses everything involved in the movement of goods from the largest trucks on our road to local deliveries, as well as freight carried by rail, water, Removing these emissions requires the development and deployment of clean technologies. They've opened with the technologies thing, as well as the use of more sustainable forms of transport. They put that in second. You'll notice that. Many of which are already available, including cargo bikes and rail. Yes. Okay, well, I'm not going to read too much into their sentence structure. With these things, you always have to because they agonise over. Oh, we don't want to overly say one thing over the other. Yeah, people are noticing there's no OLE above the train. Yeah, no, it's magic. It's a magic train. It's got magic technology in it that somehow works for freight that isn't overhead electrification because, folks, there is no alternative for freight other than overhead electrification of rail. Anyway, so domestic freight transport by mode. 25 tonnes by ship, 17 by rail. This is billion tonne kilometres, by the way, and 154 billion tonne kilometres by road. This is where you can see the massive difference in volume shifted here. What was that? 2019. Yeah. Okay. So okay. I remember. It's all coming back to me. So they had a series of commitments here. Commitment: we are consulting on phase-out dates for the sale of all new non-zero emissions HGVs. Okay, fine. They're looking at broadly looking at 2030 for kind of vans, 2035. Oh wait, no. Required to have significant zero emissions capability, and 100% zero emissions at the tailpipe from 2035. Sorry, so this is misleading. 2035 is the year for that. 2035 up to and including 26. No, so it's 2035 for vans, 2040 for HGVs. This is a bit of confusing waffle, but it's 2040 by the look of it. So there's I mean, the electric HGVs batteries can work for short skips, because they are kind of already. In fact, DPD, fair play. I'm going to name drop DPD. Not perfect on some things, but they do in York. They've got a fleet of electric vans that go around. For me, that's kind of the obvious future. I mean, EVs, as I always say, they're not the whole solution, but they're certainly part of it. You need vans to go around. Cargo bikes can do a lot and should be encouraged to do a lot more, but vans for heavy things, like white goods and stuff, is a no brainer. So I've seen those going around there. That works, but it requires the whole infrastructure to alter, the whole supply chain, the whole logistics supply chain to alter. I've been reading as part of this. I've been reading The Box, which I'd strongly recommend a read. It's not perfect, by Mark Levinson. There are some issues with its some of the rail history in there, but actually I've gone through. There's nothing particularly I fault on it. It's just a few lines. He's quite mean about the US rail industry. I think the US rail industry got very upset as a result because they're very slow much slower even than the UK to pick up on the value of intermodal freight. Good book, and it's fantastic for understanding freight logistics and how that can work. You've got to understand how it developed and why it's the shape it is, and that's how, in order to unpick it and work out how it works for the future. So I've been reading that. Good book, strongly recommend. On top of that, also is two things that have nearly fallen off my desk there. Number one is Locomotives and Coaching Stock 2015, which is useful as a tool for me when I'm actually, it's got data in there that you don't have on Wikipedia, like vehicle masses and stuff, which is useful for my day job. And also 1930, I think exactly 1930, 1 inch to 1 mile map of Exmoor. There you are. So just to give you that there, brief segue, right? I'm allowed segues. I have a feverish brain / ADHD. So okay, fine. Next commitment. So that was the first commitment, is they're consulting on the phase-out date. So they're not even committing to those ones. Demonstrate zero-emission HGV technology on UK roads this year. Okay. Designing electric road system and hydrogen. So this is the commitment to get that. So that's 2021, and they're going to demonstrate it on this year. So that the overheads on near Scunthorpe on the previous episode are going up this year at some point. That's interesting. That's an interesting commitment. That's a thing we can hold them against. And then they're doing a hydrogen fuel cell one, which frankly is nonsense. The hydrogen, I'll be interested to see it work, but I don't expect that to appear this year because it's just vaporware. So they're saying, look, we're doing things as the CCC has told us. The UK's Climate Change Committee, not to be confused with the IPCC. This is the Triple C, the CCC. Not a manufacturer of concrete sleepers. They turned into Costain and are now something else. The Climate Change Committee. They give advice. Even they're usually pretty tame because they're kind of government adjacent, but they've been pretty scathing recently, and so government is trying to respond to that. Next commitment: will stimulate demand for zero emission trucks through financial and non-financial incentives. Okay, fine. There's a little bit of cash. Other policy experts can probably pick into the value of those. I'm not an expert on, far from being an expert on millions of things, but particularly, incentivizing behaviours through financial and non-financial incentives. That requires other expertise, to be honest. So fine, that sounds sensible enough, but does it actually just is it a bit like cycle to work scheme, which is it basically makes people like me have more tax breaks? I don't need any tax breaks. Like, I'm fine. People at my salary level and above are fine, and I don't have a huge, but I'm fine. People who don't go anywhere, who will never see a cycle to work scheme, are the ones who need to be supported to have bicycles. I don't need cycle to work scheme. Cancel it. It's stupid. That's my instinct on incentivization there. I don't think cycle to work scheme has ever made someone not get a bike who would get, the option of it has not made someone get a bike where they otherwise wouldn't have just got a bike anyway. it'd take a lot to convince me otherwise. We'll support efficiency improvements and emission reductions in the existing fleet. Okay, fine. Yep, sounds sensible enough. There's some buses and coaches with some solar panels on the top. What to what end? That'll generate enough to charge the battery over like during the day. If you drive it during the night, probably not. I don't know. I mean, if it means that you can run the aircon off the solar panel, that's maybe not a bad idea. But again, like it's like people who say put solar panels on trains. No, do you have any idea how little energy you get off solar panels and how much energy you need to run a train? Oh, I'm still big face. Thanks for shouting at me, everyone. Yeah, I'm small face. There we are. Sorry. How much have I been wiggling around? There we go. Yeah, everyone shouted at me. There, thanks. Shouting. Lots of shouting. Good. Good. Well, the people in the audio only are doing fine. They don't know what the fuss is about. Sorry, yeah, so these pages. How much have you missed? Not much. I can't remember. Book, supply chains, stuff, stimulating stuff, picture of things with solar panels on them. There we are. People feel free to disagree with me if you think, yes, cycle to work scheme, yeah. Deutsche Bahn apparently uses 10 trillion watts a year in traction power. Yeah, one train is like the amount of energy that a train consumes in hotel power alone, so not even traction power, in hotel power alone is like a megawatt. Trains take a lot of energy, like a huge amount of energy. You're not getting a megawatt out. You're not getting a megawatt out of anyway, right. So there we are. Is everyone happy? Have we caught up with what's on screen? Have I showed that sufficiently? People can rewind if they need to. You're there. It's fine. So do always shout at me when I screw up. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I just had another wasabi head situation. Anyone joining now late is going to be like, what the hell is he on about with this wasabi head? Oh, it's a bad one actually. Ugh. It's like does anyone use the nice nose sniffy things? It's a bit like that, except that I can't smell anything. I can't smell. There's anyway. Look, Tesco's gets an appearance here. Nice. Modal shift to rail. So this is a thing saying modal shift is good. So this is a key commitment. This is the most important commitment. It should have been the one right at the start, which is we will support and encourage modal shift of freight from road to more sustainable alternatives such as rail, cargo bike, and inland waterways. Investing in the capacity and capability of the rail network for freight, including on projects like the upgrade to key freight corridor between Southampton and the Midlands. HS2 will release a significant amount of spare capacity in the southern part of the West Coast Main Line. Well, and the rest, indicative that they're very slow on the uptake of getting what HS2 is about. There we are. Some of which could create opportunities for freight operators to grow and develop. It's the most non-committal. Some of which could. No, what your government say it will. Say it will create. We will use that to. Oh my god, it's just indicative of the rot runs deep, my friends. The rot runs deep. They're capable of saying HS2 will release a significant amount of spare capacity, some of which could create opportunities. No, just for goodness sake, commit to what you're going to do. Say it will. We will ensure that. The railway is yours, government. Like, stop kidding us that it belongs to anyone else. It is ours. If it is ours, then we should be saying what it is to be done with, and government is just our representatives. So frustrating. The mode shift revenue support and waterborne freight grant schemes will continue to incentivise modal shift and help to remove around 100,000 less than that, HGV loads off the road each year. Okay. Introducing a rail freight growth target to encourage the continued growth of the sector. That is good. That is a good. Do that. It needs to be assertive, and it needs to have teeth though as a target. The modal shift of freight from roads. I notice it's not here though. Yeah, when are you going to introduce that target? Why not put it here? Why not put 5% a year? Yeah. Okay. Would not only lead to a reduction in GHG levels, but also reduce congestion and noise pollution. Further details about this commitment can be found in the section on decarbonising railways. Last mile package of measures support more sustainable freight alternatives in urban areas. That's good. We'll get to that shortly, I'm sure. So here's Tesco with their plan. It's saying how many tons of CO2 they're saving a year. They're committed to electrifying their distribution fleet and encouraging customers to make the shift to electric. Yeah, but fine. We'll take forward measures to transform last mile deliveries. So this is working with industry, academia, other stakeholders to understand how innovation in the Category L sector can benefit the UK delivery market. Okay, everyone, what's Category L? Is that vans? Help me. Gareth Williams is asking, while you all help me with that, Gareth Williams is asking what inland waterways are left that are suitable for cargo movements. An impressively large number, actually. There's quite a lot of fairly well-connected inland waterways still functioning in the UK, believe it or not. So, yeah. Richard Smith is saying cycle to work being based around buying practical urban bikes would be a much better use of funds than subsidising a carbon fibre 2.5k bike with no rack or frame lock. Yeah, can relate. I use cycle to work to buy my beautiful Eastway road bike that I will never use to commute to work. So yeah, absolutely, it's just a tax break for people who are kind of reasonably well off. Mr. Tim Dunn, hello. If anyone's ever wondered what it's like to be in the pub with Gareth, this edition of Rail Natter, in which he gives an uninterruptible stream of slurred consciousness, is a good approximation. Can confirm. Yeah, absolutely. This is pretty much all Natters. But people seem to follow. It's yeah. Anyway, right. We'll research the legal and practical issues around... I've also broken into a fever sweat. Let's not worry about that. We'll research the legal and practical issues around compulsory consolidation centre. Ooh! Nicole, where's Nicole Badstuber when you need her? Yes, they're doing it. Look, they're doing the thing. The legal and practical issues around compulsory consolidation centres, setting the groundwork for future pilots. Pilots will seek to ensure that the majority of urban deliveries are consolidated and transferred to zero-emission vehicles for the last mile. Yes, this is a very, very good thing. Yes, good. Why is this not a big, giant thing saying, looky, look, we're doing this. This is really good. I'm very interested to see more about this, and I'd love to speak to the person in the DFT. If anyone, I know lots of people in the DFT actually, I know I'm mean about the DFT a lot, but lots of DFT people actually listen to this, weirdly. I mean, hello to you all, you're doing great work. You're fighting a tremendous uphill struggle. I would love to speak to whoever is in charge of that project, because that would be brilliant. That's so important, it's absolutely critical. Doctor, I believe, I hope I got that right, Dr. Badstuber, is now in Melbourne, doing this in Melbourne. We lost her, but she was working on this very thing, and I will get her on a rail natter to talk about this. But it's good, it's brilliant. So that's one thing that's really good. They're looking at traffic regulation orders, legislative framework, TROs, so the legal stuff relating to how much local government can enforce things. And this is talking about reducing the number of vehicle movements. So new technology and smarter regulation offer significant opportunities for reducing high carbon delivery traffic, including dynamic curb space and delivery management and road and non-road based zero emissions logistics solutions. That's a lot of wiffly waffle. I'm not quite sure what that's saying. The DFT's future transport programme is investing in Pathfinder projects in this field. Okay. The thing is, this all feels like good, but it all feels very late, very last minute. Parts of some cities are served by as many as 50 waste management and delivery companies with multiple pickups from businesses on the same street, large numbers of delivery vehicles duplicating trips, voluntary projects in areas such as Mayfair. Okay, yeah, voluntary projects. We'll pilot allowing some local authorities to franchise certain delivery and waste management services. That's okay, yeah. This will help them to better coordinate the number of deliveries and waste collections in certain areas, enabling competition and choice while reducing the number of operators and vehicle movements. I mean, obviously my view is municipalised a lot. But we had this wonderful thing called Royal Mail. Do you remember that? The Royal Mail? Anyone? No? Yes? And so my view is that we bin off everyone but Royal Mail and get Royal Mail to do it all. And even if that means it's mildly less efficient, them having just one, and also if it means that you don't guarantee one-day deliveries for everyone, that would mean that you'd get rid of so many vehicles out the centre of the city. There are people talking about speeds of... Badstuber is in Sydney, not Melbourne. Oh, damn. Sakura, thanks. She was in Melbourne. Anyway, good. Yeah, she's in Oz. Why did I think... I might have just completely missed the plot, but maybe she's moved over to Sydney within... That was like quite a while ago now, so... Josephine is saying that her kitten is now trying to catch my mouse on the TV screen. Right, well, it's going over here for now. And then over here. Ha! I'm playing with a kitten remotely, which somehow pleases me. Royal Mail was indeed sold off for a nickel, yes. And then sold off again for a lot more. Yeah. Yeah, some of us remember Royal Mail. Yeah, they occasionally deliver things to us. Yeah, anyway. So, work across government to consider more. I'm dwelling on this one because it's really important. We'll work across government to consider more opportunities for the joint collection of household and non-household municipal waste. I mean, it seems weird that that's not done by one organisation anyway, but there we are. Okay, fine. Yeah, that sounds very sensible. Measures to improve air quality and accelerate transition to low emissions economy are supported in the 880 million NOx program, NO2 program. Nitrogen oxide, I presume, or is that just they've just coincidentally chosen a weird other name? This will result in the implementation of clean air zones in a number of local areas, which will help accelerate the turnover to less polluting and more to less polluting. Clean air zones in a number of local areas. Why are they not doing that on the basis of yeah, on the basis of... I've just received a picture of the cat, of the kitten, by the way, which is unbelievably cute. There we are, that'll be going on the... Josephine, if you're on the Discord, I'm sure people would love to see that. It's always worth me checking my phone in the middle of a rail natter, right? Anyway, so this is... The thing is with clean air zones is, like, do them on the basis of NOx, yes, but also, I mean, use clean air zones to encourage modal shift. There's talking about e-cargo bikes. Yeah, scope for greater use of AI and data tools in the freight sector, improving efficiency, which cuts emissions. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, AI is always a bit of an FM red flag, but I'm sure there is more. If the consolidation of kind of goods data, but that would require that information to be available on a platform that lots of people could access, because a lot of people will be like, no, I'm not. A lot of the that delivery stuff is super top secret, and so. There'll be a lot of protectionism over. Well, you're not getting to know how many packages we deliver, because all of a sudden the whole racket will fall apart when Amazon show that the only reason they're delivering things so quickly is because they have just thrown below minimum wage workers at the problem. It's the same thing. I think. Well, there's your problem podcast. I've talked about this. It's the tech bro approach to solving problems, which is just you throw more at it. Throw more. That works in a computer. You just wait for the next generation of computers to come out when they're more powerful. In the case of reality, it doesn't work like that. Anyway, right. So I'm waffling horribly. Tim, it's a funny one for you. I'm glad you've joined, but I'm going to be particularly waffly with it. If you're just checking in to see if I collapse midstream for entertainment, that might happen. It's true. Here is a render from... That's not a real... Is it real? It's pixelated in a different way. That to me looks like a renderite. So there is a potentially non-real truck making its way past a kind of also weirdly non-real looking version of Big Ben. There it is anyway. Decarbonising transport HGV GHG projections versus the baseline. It's a very optimistic and rapid decarbonisation based on quite a lot of things going the way of fancy technology that hasn't been proven yet. Part 2, plan and detail. Delivering decarbonisation through places. Oh, so is this going to be a bit about spatial planning? Ooh, that's exciting. Because spatial planning, housing planning, commercial planning is super critical to how we deal with this stuff, and that never seems to be acknowledged. David Thompson saying it's real. No, I'm not so sure. Oh, crikey, the chat's moving so quickly. Oh, also weird. The YouTube's gone weird, and it's suggested that everyone's gone again, and it's dropped down to it's fake no scaffolding. Well, yeah, obviously. It's dropped down. There are 100 of you watching a minute ago, and it's dropped down. Oh, it's gone back. YouTube, what are you doing? Stop distracting me. Keep sending me chats. At me in so I can see the questions. Good grief, the chat is happening thick and fast. So I'm struggling to keep up. Okay. Well, these are the nice graphics saying local transport infrastructure funding reform, 12 billion quid to support local delivery of transport decarbonisation. Is that just their bus money again, or is that something slightly different? Well, maybe it is something slightly different, like electric vehicle charging points and stuff. Toolkit of guidance to support local authorities. They probably don't need toolkits, although maybe that's nice. What they need is funding. Central government has stripped local authorities of any spare cash, so they can't afford to do any of this stuff. They can't afford to send staff on training days because they haven't got any, because they had to sack them all because their funding got cut. Anyway. Oh, look, it's Edinburgh Trams. Oh, it's Bristol. Oh, it's Bristol. Oh, lovely Bristol. Anyway, Bristol looking quite colourful. They really cranked the contrast, the saturation up on that picture, I tell you. Anyway, there's no uniform approach to decarbonisation, and each place in the UK has its own unique role to play. Oh my god, you don't say. Oh, you could cry, couldn't you? Yeah, I know there's no uniform approach. It's because the government has. I've already put the quote up from the Royal Commission on Environmental Pollution, saying that the government has no plan, and the Department for Transport has no plan. Oh, I should have put that quote up again, shouldn't I? Anyway, yes, Tim, I shall be plugging at the end. Don't worry, Mr. Tim Dunn's lecture, which is going out on. Which is this weekend, actually. I think it's this Saturday. The plug is happening later. Tim is currently revising that. 37 pages of Reverend Audrey's handwriting to decipher the lecture. Yes, everyone will plug that later. Tim, don't worry, you'll be getting a plug at the end. I've lined the slide up, especially. So there is no... Yeah, okay, this is waffle. Strong local leadership. Yeah, strong local leadership is all well and good, but you've stripped the government. You have stripped funding from local authorities, so what do you expect them to do? Examples of place-based solutions to decarbonising transport across the UK. Okay, let's see what they're talking about then as examples. Government has committed almost 60 million of quid to Greater Manchester for their active travel fund, enabling a further 24 miles of permanent cycling and walking routes, in addition to the 55 miles of routes that will be created by December 21. I'm interested to see how they're doing on that number, but anyway, okay, that's good. Aberdeen has developed a cluster of hydrogen activity with 2 publicly accessible hydrogen refueling stations and one of the largest and most varied fleets of hydrogen vehicles in Europe. Okay, interesting. The Orkney Islands are home to a series of innovative hydrogen vessel projects and an internationally recognised centre of excellence for renewable energy. Yeah, it's like Aberdeen desperately needs to reinvent itself because its economy is currently... it's like a rocket ship shooting downwards. It's like that first episode of Kerbal Space Program that I did when I streamed it, and I ended up shooting Valentina directly at full speed into the ground and atomizing her. Yeah, that's currently what the Aberdeenshire economy is doing. I used to live there. I grew up there. I know how reliant it is on oil and how much trickle-down economics doesn't work. And the whole economy is currently collapsing. And will collapse further if OPEC do what Biden asked them to do. Anyway, green hydrogen also here being produced from curtailed wind in North Antrim. It will be the first Northern Irish hydrogen fueling station in Belfast. What else we've got? Tees Valley Combined Authority, along with Ginger, first e-scooter, the UK-based. I'm waffling so bad. I'm sorry, everyone. The UK-based e-scooter company Ginger was the first pilot region to test the rental of e-scooters as a zero-emission alternative to... Yeah, they're doing that in York now. You've seen me go on about tier e-scooters. I know some people think they're a waste of time. I don't think they're a waste of time. I think they're a serious option that we should be providing. We should be, zero emission. We should be providing lots of options for micromobility. For various reasons, the bike isn't always an option that people can take. For me, it's because there's no bicycle parking at the station. And also trains are hopeless for bicycles if I'm trying to get somewhere other than a bicycle holiday trip where you can kind of book it in advance and it kind of works. If I'm wanting to get somewhere in London in the morning, then the quickest way for me to do it is by e-scooter to the station. Don't have to worry about parking finding somewhere to lock my bike, hop on the train and down I go. Happy days. Transport for Wales is expanding its demand-responsive Flexi bus service in northwest Pembrokeshire. That sounds good. We talked about that with the Bus Back Better report, haven't we? So, similar example of that. Didcot Garden Town, green community designed to encourage people to choose sustainable modes of transport. Okay, well, yeah, because currently a lot of the new towns in the UK exemplify the opposite approach. Let's see, what's going on. Yeah, they're not mentioning. Since the Mayor of London launched the world's first ULEZ, it has had a significant impact on reducing the number of older, more polluting vehicles that enter London's central zone. Yeah, well, indeed. Solent Transport Future. So here's some examples. Maybe I won't go through the rest of them, but there's Milton Keynes with its EV public charging devices. Coventry's going to be the first all-electric bus town or city. Okay. So here are the commitments. Well, that was a bit of a bad one. Oh, you can hear me. I can hear my lungs whistling in the feedback into my earphones. This is horrible. Sorry, everyone on the audio. will support decarbonisation by investing more than 12 billion in local transport systems over the current Parliament. Okay, so 5 billion, that's the bus and cycle links funding. Okay, 5 billion more is levelling up. Okay, and then 4 billion of that is the city region sustainable transport settlements. Ugh. So that's the thing that cities are having to compete for to get their own public transport system. So that angers me a lot, because it's like, no. Why are cities competing for investment that they clearly will get a return on? No. Skip that process. Give them the money right now. Just make that funding available immediately. From the absolute right now, as in it can be done right now, make the funding available. Abolish the bloody Treasury. £20 million of funding is available to local authorities. That's nothing. £20 million is like pennies. That's just a totally irrelevant amount of money, given how much has been chopped from local authority funding. I'm not even going to read that out. Commitment. We will drive decarbonisation and transport improvements at a local level by making quantifiable carbon reductions a fundamental part of local transport planning and funding. That sounds good. Local transport plans. But again, it comes back to all of this. You've got to look at the political context. You've got to look at the fact that local authority funding has been stripped. Absolutely stripped. All right, what's happening? Michael's. So, what else have we got? That's fine. Right, this is interesting. I'm interested to see what they say here, because some of the little box outs are hints as to wider government intentions. So the subnational transport bodies were created by the Cameron, they were created by the coalition government. And because Cameron and the coalition government were all up on devolution, this government hates devolution. They want everything right back to... They want the Thatcher and Blair days of everything totally centralised again. So they hate the strategic the subnational transport bodies. I think the subnational transport bodies are really good. By far the most proactive we've seen, to my mind, is not Transport for the North. It is, in fact, Midlands Connect. In terms of their strategic planning, they have done a lot of it. They've had it ripped apart by governments wavering on the eastern leg of HS2, but anyway, that's another story. So, forget all this stuff about local transport plans. I'll believe it when I see it in terms of investment, in terms of funding for local authorities. So, what are they saying about subnational transport bodies? So, these are like Transport for the North, Midlands Connect. Is it Peninsula? No, what's the other one? Transport for the... Isn't strategic national... why do I keep... My brain is mush. Subnational transport body. Isn't it just a passenger transport executive? No, not quite. Passenger transport executives are urban transport authorities that are now being kind of replicated by the combined authority group. So Transport for West Midlands is kind of taking on that role. No, the subnational transport bodies are larger. They're kind of larger devolved areas. The England's Economic Heartland's one. I don't know which one that is. But anyway... I'm going to read this out in full. 7 subnational transport bodies cover all of England apart from London and support the government's aims to level up the country. Well, they've written that down. STBs are by their nature spatially focused and bring together stakeholders in each region representing local government and business. STBs can support the government's decarbonisation objectives by joining up local plans across a wider geography to capitalise on economies of scale and ensure coherence across local authority borders. Government tasks each STB with developing a transport strategy for their region, a framework for a place-based approach which helps government identify transport schemes to invest in. As part of this, the STBs are working to turn national priorities into actionable plans for their region. Each STB is developing a strategy to decarbonise the transport system which is rooted in the opportunities and needs of their region. England's Economic Heartland STB coordinates this work stream and help share best practice across STBs to enable long-term sustainable connectivity in all types of communities across England. They're not the best practice one. They're trying to build a blinking highway across the area. Don't pay attention to them. To be fair, Midlands Connect are also doing lots of road stuff, but that's only because their local authority and larger regional authority groups still are in the attitude of, we want roads, and Midlands Connect is just them, but on a bigger platform. Yeah, okay. Fine. That doesn't really say very much, other than they do still sort of see a role for the STBs, but to me that looks awfully like passing the buck without the funding provision. Because it's all very well them telling people to create more plans, write more documents, but if they're still doing the funding themselves, then they're going to be doing this stupid pick and choose charade. Nothing will get done. just take Leeds as a city and the history of transport investment in Leeds as the perfect example why that approach is hopeless. These regions, whether they're major, devolved regions or the city regions, need to just have their own funding powers to invest in this stuff themselves. Otherwise, it'll never happen. Working together to decarbonise Coventry. Here's the VLR very light rail thing, which I will have a rail natter about. I can't remember. I did have some emails back and forth. I might need to search my email inbox to check where I got to on that one. But anyway, we will have an episode to talk about these. This is just talking about Coventry. Let's not, no, whatever. Let's skip on to the next one because I've already been doing this for 50 minutes. Next commitment. We're on page 155 of many other pages. We'll publish a local authority toolkit. Oh, this is the toolkit. Okay, fine. Toolkit. Again, it comes back to local authority funding. Fine, toolkit, whatever. We will embed, is another commitment, we will embed transport decarbonisation principles in spatial planning and across transport policy making. Okay, I'm going to quickly eye scan through this paragraph and see what I can see. Well, they're talking big. Traffic issues have often caused opposition to house building. A legacy of developments that give people few alternatives to driving. I love the phrase cowpat developments. So these are things that are just basically taking up a few fields, miles from any useful public transport connection and indeed any other services, which means that people just drive everywhere. And Britain is hopeless for these. Cowpat developments is such a good name for them because they are shit. So let's say National Planning Policy Framework. Well, there are lots of problems with the updates to the planning framework. In fact, if Tim was still on, he'd be able to rant about those in some detail because there are some serious problems with the latest planning changes. But if there's an element of embedding these, then that's a positive aspect to them. Okay. Gear change committed to active travel England. Oh, new body. I didn't pick that up in gear change. Oh, we haven't done gear change, have we? That's why. So that's fine. National Model Design Code, process of developing local design codes and guides. Okay. Also, if you're top tip, if you're whizzing through these at high speed, just read the first sentences of each paragraph, because theoretically the first sentence of each paragraph should basically if the paragraph if the report's been structured well, that first paragraph should very naturally that first sentence in each paragraph should say what the paragraph is saying. Recognise government has a role in helping local planning and highways authorities to better plan for sustainable. Yeah, that role is paying them. Achieving ambitions will require long-term collective effort. I love that they use the term collective. This is where I should have the Soviet, the Russian Soviet anthem, USSR anthem as a drop, but I don't. Achieving these ambitions will because it's well, there's your problems bit. I wouldn't want to steal that off Alice. Achieving these ambitions will require a long-term collective effort. I've done that. Public sector must play its part. From our recent experience of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as in the commitments in this plan, it's clear that we have the opportunity to change the way we think about movement and to challenge our behaviours. Well, yeah, that's true. It's just a shame that government isn't particularly interested in actually instigating that, other than in nice talk. Oh, look, Chelmsford has appeared. Was someone talking about Chelmsford earlier? Owen O'Neill is saying, page 157, however, while many local plans already say the right things, they're not always followed consistently in planning decisions. Yeah, level of honesty is slipping through the proofread. Yeah, indeed. Do you think we need to improve our... Matt Reed is asking a reasonable question, actually, which is, do I think we need to improve our transport network before putting up the price of owning a car, or the other way around? To be honest, I think both have to happen simultaneously, and in some cases that'll mean pain for people. And we have to assess that pain. But frankly, I think we don't have time to wait for the right thing to be done before we start the punitive actions. I just don't think that'll work. It has to be the case of both going on. Commitment: we'll create at least one zero-emission transport city and 4 industrial super places. #super places. I don't know what that means. Super places. 4 in areas such as the northeast, the Humber, northwest, Scotland and Wales that will unite clean industry with transport and power. That sounds nice. That sounds like total made-up Boris waffle, but there we are. Zero transport emission city. I mean, yeah, do it, but make it happen. Say we should be at the point where we're saying which city that's going to be and getting on with it. Commitment: we will complete our review of how to best represent decarbonisation measures in transport business case and appraisal. This is very important. How this feeds back into the Green Book and Treasury appraisal is really important. Carbon is part of the current Green Book appraisal process. It's just that it's done uselessly. So that's really important. But they don't actually they're reviewing the evidence base. It'd be interesting to see when that reports. They don't say when they're going to report on that. Oh no, they do. Interim guidance issued in July 2020. Yeah, they did update vehicle mix forecast to be used in appraisal. They're looking at TAG. So TAG is going to be updated. So the transport appraisal guidelines. July 21 apparently. So that's already. So theoretically, that's already happened. We're reviewing transport appraisal guidance to reflect the enhanced assessment of car. Oh no, they're still. So it's not done. They're still in the process of doing it. Light rail. Oh, this is weird that they've put a light rail thing in here. Let's read this because light rail is a rail thing. Light rail, an existing zero-emission choice. Light rail schemes can be transformational for highly populated areas, bringing societal, economic, and environmental benefits to our cities by connecting communities to jobs, hospitals, and leisure activities. There are currently 8 electric-powered light rail systems in England, encouraging greater use of public transport, further reducing total carbon emissions and tackling congestion. Yeah. Between 2010 and 2018, passenger journeys on Greater Manchester Metrolink increased by 128%. Over the same period, they increased by 94% on Nottingham Express Transit. Traffic volumes in Nottingham grew by 30% less than the England average. Well, indeed. As we look to build back greener, light rail has potential to be an environmentally sound local transport solution in its own right. West Yorkshire Mass Transit Visions... the Leeds tram stuff, that we did the episode on it. It was a very popular episode. The West Yorkshire Mass Transit, their vision highlights the potential for attracting inward investment and growth through providing access to previously underdeveloped or less well-connected areas, recognising the importance of... So fund the damn project. Recognising the importance of light rail now and in the future, the government has provided more than 200 million of revenue support since April 2020 to there's a pandemic. Don't go, ooh, look, we provided this support. Aren't we wonderful? Good. I'm glad you're saying you did, but that's good. Rightly so. I should have the klaxon again, the QI klaxon going off. The 12 billion to move around fresh air. It's like, yeah, if you didn't do that, everyone would lose their jobs and these systems wouldn't exist now, which would be a disaster. Of course, you provided that support. In 2019, the government conducted a call for evidence on how to better use and develop light rail and other rapid transit solutions in cities and towns. The department is incorporating insight and analysis from the call for evidence to inform future policy. Okay, that's good. I mean, I'm being mean about the funding thing. I suppose that was just an excuse to flesh it out and say, look what wonderful thing we did. But no, that broad thing is at least they're acknowledging light rail is good. Maximising the benefits of sustainable low-carbon fuels. Let's see what this talks about. There's some nice graphics here. So this is, I think, the economic benefits that they're talking about. 2021 will introduce petrol with up to 10% bioethanol as standard petrol. It's just petrol. It's just the same. It's not... renewable transport fuel obligation to increase the main... We'll amend the renewable transport fuel obligation to increase the main target in the period up to 2032. We'll develop a strategy for low-carbon fuels from now until 2050 to set a clear vision for the sector. I'm going to skip through this bit probably because, again, I don't know enough about it to be able to interrogate some of these tax incentives. So the renewable transport fuels obligation, what that actually means, no, I don't understand it well enough to interrogate it. We'll introduce petrol up to 10% bioethanol. Well, that's a big deal. In cooperation with stakeholders, we'll review the role of... This is, as I talked about last episode, this sort of activity incentivizes the retention of the status quo. It doesn't result in change, and modal shift is what we need, not excuses to keep things the same. In cooperation with stakeholders, we'll review the role of fuels with higher bio content. This is dubious. Commitment, we will seek to maximise the use of low-carbon fuel in aviation and maritime... I mean, okay, we need transition, fine. But the trouble with this is that it's incentivising the retention of the status quo. So I'm going to just... low-carbon fuels, renewable fuels, biofuels. This is all the same stuff. And it's all still burning stuff. Hydrogen... And talking of which... here is hydrogen's role in the decarbonised transport system. Government will publish an overarching hydrogen strategy in summer 21. Did that appear? I don't remember that. We're finished in summer 21 is finished. And I don't remember that appearing. We'll invest $3 million in 2021 to establish the UK's first multimodal hydrogen transport hub in Tees Valley. $3 million is nothing. That's nothing. £3 million is less than the cost of a single train. Like, why tout? If that was billion, I'd be like, okay, that sounds like enough money to maybe make something happen. As I'm writing about, Paul, Stephen, yes, I've got a piece on its way to you. I need to email you. Sorry, I was only just recovered kind of this lunchtime enough to open my work laptop and start getting on with work things. Anyway, hydrogen. I'm writing a piece on hydrogen. People are ready to make this stuff happen. They're ready to go. They just haven't got the funding from government to make it actually start. So do that, please. Why isn't that already happening? So, yeah, that doesn't sound that much at all. They talk about Holyhead and Aberdeen and what's this project led by? This is Holyhead, Mented Morton. Okay, yeah, right, fine. And there's Aberdeen. More transport. Future transport, more choice, better efficiency. Okay. They've got drone deliveries, which is funny because Amazon just sacked all their drone delivery people and showed that the whole thing's a scam. These look like they've got jazzy stuff around it, which makes me think they're referring to autonomous vehicles. In what way this will ever help with environmental friendliness, I do not know. It's just a fiction. The thing you could do, forget autonomous vehicles, flipping well introduce geofencing everywhere, and then you'll reduce carbon emissions hugely by people not being able to drive really fast, particularly in urban areas. But, in extremis, do it everywhere, and then people will just all slow down, and it'll be marvellous. And lot fewer people will die as a result of horrible car crashes. What's this, weird reward? Why have they got a little badge going attaching to everyone? Anyway, I don't know, weird. Where are the trains? Yeah, well, indeed. No, this is just cars. This is just for cars. I'm glad they do have a couple of non-standard cycles. That's good. This stupid box thing on wheels on the pavement, though, that again is nonsense. It's nonsense. Anyway, embracing new technology, share mobility. This is going to be an excruciating one where I'm just going to skip through because it's a load of rubbish, right? We will take action to increase average road vehicle occupancy by 2030. That is actually a very good way to reduce carbon emissions, because 2 people in a car massively reduces the emissions. 4 people in a car, and the emissions from a car start looking similar to coach and to rail. It's all. If you have a full car, in terms of tailpipe emissions, because our railway is so carbon intensive, it does start matching. So it doesn't take a huge amount. So if you can fill cars up, that is good. We'll publish guidance for local authorities on the reason, by the way, cars are so bad is because for the most part they are occupied by 1 point something people, 1.1 during commuter times and 1.5 more broadly. We'll publish guidance for local authorities on support for shared car ownership and shared. Okay, fine, yeah. Enterprise Car Club partnership with Highlands Council. Yeah, hire cars are something that I never got why they're not more of a thing. But anyway, James P says lower all speed limits by 10 miles per hour. No, just enforce that. If enforce existing ones, and that'll work fine. Just geofence everywhere, particularly urban areas. Geofence all urban areas so that cars can't go faster, and that would be very good. Simon's F. Kendall, how do you mandate for that? Sorry, how do you mandate for what? I'm behind because the chat's behind. That might well be referring to something else. Ask again, but say specifically what you mean, and then I'll answer. Those boxy wheelie things for pizzas are awful for mobility impaired and blind people. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. Yeah, absolutely. They're just stupid. Pavements are for people walking and wheeling. And I don't mean bicycling. I mean people in wheelchairs and with buggies. We'll consult on a mobility as a service code of practice. That's such an insignificant and unimportant thing. It should not be a commitment. Mobility as a service is just a word. I hate mass. I just shut up about it. It's just describing integrated transport. It's just describing integrating across transport modes. Stop giving it a gimmick name. It makes it sound like something's been invented newly. It hasn't. Integrated ticketing is, Bus Plus is mass, but it isn't, because mass is bollocks. It's just integrated transport. Stop using gimmick words, everyone. We'll use national e-scooter trials to understand their environmental impact, safety, and mode shift potential to evaluate whether they should be legalised. Yeah, that's good. Yep, good, fine. Commitment. We will reduce the barriers to data sharing across the transport sector. Fantastic. Really important. That is a really, really critically important one. Oh, look, here are all the e-scooter trials. Where's York? York, hooray, 1,000 of them. It's not a very big trial, apparently. It's a bigger dot than some of the other places, but the big ones are in London, in Is that Brizzle? Yeah, I suppose it would be, yeah. The Solent, there's a big one. And some other big places. York's isn't particularly large, but I'm enjoying using the e-scooters thing. I'm looking forward to... I've asked them for some data, but I think they're being a bit coy about it, so they can publish the data via the DFT. Yeah, maybe DFT's told them not to share the data, in fact. Commitment. We have launched a new annual statistical release and guidance about transport's impact on the environment and support its use by third parties. Oh, DFT people. Hello, DFT people. If you're listening, you know who you are. You emailed me earlier. I'd love to have a look at that, and I'm happy for you to come on to RailNatter and talk about that. That'll be interesting. To talk about that data release, that'd be really good. Commitment. Transport West Midlands has been got a nice box out about passenger information. Yeah, I'd say TFWM are like an example of best practice on lots of fronts. I'm really annoyed at the idea that they're going to have their branding taken away from national rail stations. I think it's actually really important that the big urban areas have their own unique brand independent of mode. So I don't think that stations should be railway station. They shouldn't have the branding should be hybridized at those stations so that they are both, West Midlands Rail and, GBR. You need a driver's license to drive the scooters around, yeah. Because that's the legal framework within which they sit at the moment. Yes, I agree that it's probably a bit silly and daft, and e-scooters should be available for... But it's one way of managing the challenges at the moment. The law will be updated. The law is just hopelessly behind when it comes to things like e-scooters. They're just absolutely behind. You can ride. You don't need a driver's license to ride an e-bike, so why would you need one for an e-scooter? Absolutely. You shouldn't. You don't need one. We'll explore the introduction of a new sustainable travel reward scheme supported by business community organisations. Charity. That looks nice, but it doesn't. Whatever. Commitment. We'll encourage and support UK businesses to lead the way. We'll encourage and support UK businesses to lead the way in taking action to reduce emissions from their employees' travel journeys to Commute Zero. Again, it has the potential to save 500,000 tonnes of CO2 a year. I mean, that's not to be sniffed at, but equally, mode shift is a bigger deal. We'll support transport providers to develop communications campaigns that encourage mode switch and sustainable transport behaviours. Okay, good. But again, this is all... I mean, I suppose this is the back end section, right? So it is all the small stuff. Let's see. Is this news? Dave is pointing out news about Cardiff Council approving their Crossrail. Okay. Behaviour change research. Yeah, okay. So this is saying there needs to be behavioural change, and yet this is kind of dumped in at the end, and they've not really talked about it. They're kind of downplaying this to substantially. So... Okay, I'm not going to read this box out. It's just sort of stuff we all know. A gradual... This is... What did our deliberative research find? Try before you buy schemes are good. Yeah, that's fair enough. Linking environmental impact and travel choices more explicitly, fine. To provide opportunity, a gradual transition to more sustainable modes over a number of years was felt by participants to be more realistic. That would be fine if we'd started this 20 years ago. Addressing negative perceptions of cycling and cyclists. Okay. Increasing the visibility of electric vehicle infrastructure, yeah, agree with that. I mean, make it so you can just use it like normal petrol stations, right? Address the safety concerns for cycling, yeah, well, segregated infrastructure required. Which they do say, to be fair. Focus on leisure journeys as a first step, okay? Highlight the social and community benefits. The company decarbonisation, okay, yeah, well, I agree with all that stuff. Youth panel. A broad sample of 11 to 18-year-olds were engaged with to understand their travel experiences. Actually, the research found that the environment was more top of the mind in this age group compared to older age groups, and they were surprised to learn how much transport contributed to carbon emissions. Yeah, well, I can believe that, because there are a lot of young folks who shout at me about who are coming through XR, who just aren't aware of the impact of transport. They're just not aware of those of some of those, the scale of the fact that transport is the biggest impact on Britain's carbon emissions. So yeah, I can understand that. When thinking about future transport, young people became excited about new technologies and the possibilities these would bring. Oh, nice spin. Yeah. Commitment. We will identify specific opportunities of decarbonisation through innovation in rural areas in the upcoming Future of Transport Rural Strategy. Why is that not part of this? More talk, less action is you could put a lot as a line under this document. Tim Ballum, anyone else had a look on Google Maps satellite view of Lynston Barnstable recently? That's an interesting segue that I'm going to do immediately after this episode, but yeah, it's a segue. Right. That doesn't stop you having to talk about it, the train hopper, don't worry. Oh no, that was Tim Ballum, sorry. Improve the perceptions of cyclists. Everyone's getting angry at the improve the perceptions of cyclists thing. Yeah, me too. Cyclists are squishy, and so they often do have to behave defensively because they're used to getting squished. For the UK to become world leader in shaping the future of transport, it's imperative the UK... right. Commitment. This is... Okay, so what's interesting is this is right at the back of the report, nearly page 200. We will help build a skilled workforce for the future of transport. That kind of needs to be right at the opening part, because none of this happens with the current size of the workforce, particularly in terms of engineering and deployment skills. It's critical. Green Jobs Task Force, okay... That's it. Now we've got a section on supporting UK research and development as a decarbonisation enabler. This is less important. I'm going to skip happily through this. The Transport Research and Innovation Board, TRIB, will coordinate transport's investment in R&D, collaborating with key stakeholders through our TRIB. Okay. Just going to leave that hanging there for everyone. We will update our areas of research interests and publish our new DFT science plan by summer 2021. That's related to presumably tax incentives for certain types of research, and also funding kind of streams for different types of research. Here's a graphic with technology requirements. So for rail, they've got this. Here's an interesting thing. I'm glad I paused on this. Route electrification is the proven path to decarbonisation, necessary role for batteries and hydrogen at network fringes where economics require. Yeah, good. I'm glad they've written that, but they've put a big blue splodge saying that the critical dependencies are on those alternative technologies, battery and hydrogen. Yeah, I'm glad they've been honest about the challenges. Here's the solution certainty. They've got a big round donut. Infrastructure maturity, half a donut. Fleet penetration, half a donut. Right, okay, so this is along here, 2021 State of Technology Readiness and Deployment. So you can see for like domestic aviation, they're saying extensive R&D required, tech options identified. It's mostly extensive R&D required. Likewise for shipping, for international shipping. International aviation is like even worse. It's like no identified zero emissions technology for long-haul flights yet. Yeah, which is true. Transport might be the one. Coaches are shown to be in demonstration scale required to test options. So interestingly, rail is by far the furthest along on this one. They've got cars as being pretty far along, but which is kind of to an extent true, I suppose. HGVs they're showing down as like tech options identified, but at scale demonstration required. So rail is by far the furthest along on this, which is interesting. This is quite a useful graphic. This actually is one to pull out, I think. Yeah, it's a good one. Right, so there's some interesting things going on in terms of chatting about cyclists in the chat. Always an interesting subject, isn't it? Unlocking green finance. You don't need to unlock green finance, government. You just need to spend that money. Just spend that money now. Oh, that's it. We're there. We're at the end. Oh my goodness. An hour and 13. The rest is, okay, if you don't like flashing lights, then close your eyes now. I'm just going to check what we've got. References, and that's it. That's the end. A blue page to end on. A blue page. Oh my goodness. Well, all I can say is really like a reminder of this thing, right? Which is this is the 12 billion. If you remember this section, I put this up last time. This is an extra 12 billion. Extra. Why am I doing this with my mouse when I have a Wacom? You might ask. It's because I put the Wacom away. An extra 12 billion is required. That's a lot of pennies. 12 billion by government. 12 billion. Sorry, I'm just pausing on that. 12 billion per year required additional investment in transport in this country. Yeah. The existing funding is around 3 billion. Government is going to spend a little more, which will bring it up to 4 billion. But the amount that we're currently spending is 4 billion. We need that to increase by that's like a fifth of the total amount we need to invest in. So that's whatever. That's like 500% increase. Is my math right on that one? Major. Owen O'Neill says the biggest change from the draft is from the draft to this is we all need to change behaviour. Final says you can keep driving. Other people, especially in urban areas, should get on the bus if they can. That's interesting. So you can continue to drive from countryside and city centre. Yeah, that's interesting. There was quite a lot of wording of people can. We don't need to change behaviours. People should also get the bus a bit more. Yeah, I agreed. I think this is a letdown. That's my. Let's go big face. Actually, let's go big face to review this. Yeah, let's while we've got that logo up, let me go large face. So send your thoughts for the next 5-10 minutes or so. We'll close this one off. I haven't collapsed yet. I'm gonna have a big sip of tea. What are your thoughts, everyone? We've gone through that. Is there anything you wished I'd focused on a bit more? Hopefully that's been useful. I've got is that grey or a bleached hair in my mustache that's kind of showing up weirdly on the target. Climate targets by 2050 should have been 2030, says Eurostar Lover 009. Simon, your point that you said, and I never answered your question. I'm going back up to Simon's question. Up we go. Where is he? Simon's saying if it works in London, double signage branding, then it can work anywhere. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right. How do you mandate for higher car occupancy? Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, you introduce more multiple vehicle occupancy lanes, for example, might be one way to do it. Ella's thoughts are that there's surprisingly little FM gadget ban type stuff. Yeah, that is. There is quite a bit of FM in there, but not as much as I perhaps expected. Simon's saying, is there a risk that this is a lot of waffle and not much actual detail and strategy? Yeah, absolutely. Cam Wright is going, how do we get government to spend money? Well, indeed. James P is saying, geofencing doesn't work when most cars don't know where they are in the first place. Geofencing can work for a lot of cars currently on the roads, and given that EVs are more car, there's the car industry is desperate for there's been a big change in cars, a big refreshing of cars in recent years. So lots of cars that have I think that in a lot of cases the cars can have that done, but it should be for new cars. So yeah, even if it's not the case that cars a sizable chunk of current cars can do it, I think it should be mandatory for all new cars that have geofencing, and then that geofencing should be open data, it should be accessible, it should be able to be updated by local authorities. Matteo says that he's just glad I made it, that they're glad I made it through. Thanks, Matteo. Gareth Williams is asking what geofencing is. Geofencing is where you have an area bounded within GPS coordinates that a rule is applied to vehicles, whether that rule is slow down or put your lights on. Rishi Sunak is a major danger. Don't anyone on here think that he's somehow better than anyone else in the Conservative Party in terms of willingness to spend in terms of being good. Just because he has a shiny suit, he is as bad as the lot of them in terms of neoliberal, potentially worse, in fact, in terms of viewing what the Treasury's role is in terms of not spending any money. Interesting. Ella the developer. I'll repeat what I said earlier about hire cars, just in case you missed. Ping Simon Little Red Dragon on the Discord and ask him about how he uses hire cars. It's a good model. Hire car. This is a thing it's a bit of a funny one. Once you've got a car, you kind of don't step back from it. We've got the smart car, for example, but I did the maths on this, and it's cheaper, by far cheaper, to hire every weekend in a year than it is to have a car. That you can hire a car every weekend of the year, and it's still cheaper than actually owning that car. It's just the fact that they're not necessarily that accessible, not necessarily that reliable, in terms of being able to get them, and even less so now with the virus. It's even more of an issue. But yeah. HST Trains, do you think it's hypocrisy that we're being encouraged to be more environmentally friendly when politicians fly to climate summits? Yes and no. Politicians have to fly places because otherwise they'd never get anything done. But also, when the journey is quicker and better by rail to anywhere in Europe, or certainly Western Europe, Brussels, etc., France, Germany, you can get there by train quicker. Yeah, that is stupid. Where are we at? Oh, I've missed Josephine. Yes, sorry. Josephine's saying you also don't have the capital tied up if you hire in this way. Yeah, you've not you've not kind of tied the money up in a car. Yes. Tim Balance says only if you buy new cars. Yeah, no, no. The cost of maintenance and insurance for like older cars is pretty steep. For if you've got unless you've got like a reliable like Nissan Micra that just is somehow indestructible, it can happen. You'll be spending a lot on maintenance of a second-hand car, which by the time that if you're spending on average 400 or 500 quid a year on your car, and then tires, maintenance, that thing, plus the insurance of several hundred quid, that starts adding up. Yeah, scaling that would be interesting. If a substantial number of car owners sold their cars and tried to rent hire at weekends, prices would rise. Yeah, absolutely. So that would mean that government would have to step in and be involved in that process. So yeah, like a state hire company would be quite useful. We've never had one of those, I don't think. Problem with buying used is that older cars suck for maintenance, ultra low emission zones, etc. Yeah, it's very true. Richard Smith, government has never really cared to put weight on improving links through the Channel Tunnel to Europe, and until that changes, it'll never fulfil its potential. Well, yeah, quite. Thoughts on rideshare schemes post-pandemic? Yeah, they're a good idea, and we should be encouraging them. Yeah, let's see. Can confirm the girlfriend's like 2003 Micra hasn't died yet, and we've smashed that thing right around the M25 like 4 times already. Yeah. The train hopper. What would get me out? He's saying what would get them out of a car is having the buses running on a consistent schedule more than every other hour. Yeah. To be certainly in urban and suburban areas, buses need to be at least 4 an hour to actually get to be for you to be like, oh yeah, I can just turn up and get on a bus, because it means you're never waiting too long. Ideally 5 or 6 an hour is even better, but 3 or fewer an hour is no good. An hour, hopeless. More than an hour, might as well not be running. Like at this point, you're talking about kind of deep rural services. The only places in Britain that should have the only places in Britain that have a population of 1,000 or more, basically nowhere in Britain should have a less than hourly bus service if it has a population of 1,000 or more. Like, this is the basic Swiss model of every population centre gets a level of service commensurate to the density of population, and that can be played with based on spatial planning intentions. But that TACT plan, that has to be the look up the Swiss transport model. That should be the way that we do things. Buses need to also have shelters, not just a stick with a bus symbol on it. Never get people to convert to public transport when there's still urban railway lines in Manchester with no Sunday service. Matt Reed, asks whether I think this report will make any difference. It has some things that we can hold government to account over. So yes, I do think it will make a difference. Things in it that are commitments that we can hold government to account over. Yeah, so I do think it'll make a difference. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. Simon Wadsworth, the depreciation on a new car is enough to pay for maintenance on an old car. One of ours isn't nearly 200,000 miles, but I will buy a hybrid next time and use it in electric. Yeah, we're at the point of, like, with the smart car, we're looking at electric, and we keep swinging from, like, no, we're not going to get an electric car yet, to yes, we are going to get an electric car, to back to no again, and it's tricky, because the challenge is looking at the way we use the car is kind of how a lot of people use the car, which is we use it to do a big shop once every month. If we've been doing a lot more delivery, but we might do a big shop once every month. We don't have a cargo bike because it's too expensive, frankly. We would use a cargo bike otherwise. We do holidays up to Scotland, like hike holidays where you've got all your kit in the boot and 2 of us in the car. It's much more effective to do that, because then we can get into the hills. Things like that, we'll go down to see my grandparents in the car because it means that we can go do Devon things where there isn't public transport in the car. Those are the sorts of things. So, we're using it for those sorts of trips. The challenge with that is that there are no charging, or Wales, going to see family in Wales. We have done the train, but it's just, to Aberystwyth, but it's with 2 of us in the car. Again, it's the balance of cost and it's longer, But those aren't those sorts of journeys are not the ones to. I'm not someone who says everyone should drop the car journeys that need sorting out are the commuting car journeys. Those are the ones that are the carbon emission issue. So they're talking about we should tackle leisure first. I fundamentally disagree. There are a lot of people who have driving as part of their daily routine. People who are driving as part of their daily routine, those are the people that need to be provided better opportunities, because those are also the people who are having the most personal impact from driving, stress and so on. So no, the casual car user isn't the problem. We also need to ban all new wood burners. Yes, Tim Ballon, you're right. They should let people in cities opt out of street parking. HST trains, do you think there should be more cross-channel operators? No, I just think we should be incentivizing that usage more. The Eurostar, a lot of people I care a lot about in Eurostar, but Eurostar is not a well-run outfit, frankly. The service could be a lot better. And part of that is because the HS1 charges, Network Rail High Speed charge way too high track access charges for HS1. The train, right, okay. So that's all the question. Let's go back to small face and talk about things. So, the issue we have is that the DFT is, I mean, okay, there are problems with the DFT, but actually the DFT is entirely subservient to. Why do that? The DFT is entirely subservient to HM Treasury, and until Treasury is either atomized, hashtag abolish the Treasury, or is fundamentally and radically altered, like a seismic shift in the attitudes of that organization, then we're going to be stuck where we are. We cannot, while the Treasury exists in its current form, we cannot fix transport in this country. We cannot decarbonise transport in this country. It is not possible. So my view is that we need to entirely atomise the Treasury, but short of atomising the Treasury, we need a fundamental alteration in the attitudes, the deep set rot in that organisation as to what it does in terms of investment. Well, it doesn't invest. That's the point. So there we go. Let's see. So that's basically my point. Is that the politics, this whole shit. Why I've put this here. The reason I've slammed this here is that the politics is key. The fact that we've crippled local authorities is a major part of the problem. 50% budget cuts for some local authorities. There's just sorry, the wasabi thing just happened, and I'm wondering if it's because I'm getting my sense of smell back, because it'd be very nice. I'm also very hungry, which is nice. That's good. I've not had much of an appetite until now. Anyway, yes, this lot. So, fundamentally, abolish the Treasury. Without doing that, we're not going to solve the problems. And also, hashtag electrify all the things. Yeah, we went through that last time. Well, that's it. That's well, it's time to wrap up, isn't it? So, we're back on podcasting. Podcasting is happening. In fact, I can see it. I've got Spotify open now. You can see if I drag this over. Is this going to work? Is it going to not work? Is this going to show you all my? Look, I'll show you this. Look, there it is. Yeah, it's on Spotify. You can see all the episodes are there. Hooray! So you can go in and this is what I listen to. In fact, some of my you can listen to the An Engineer Plays podcast playlist, which is available for everyone to listen to, by the way. I'm sure you all knew that. Anyway, there, look, Rail Natter is on Spotify. Also, other podcasting platforms are available, but maybe aren't as good. So, yeah, the podcast is working. Ella, thanks so much. Giel, thank you so much. But Ella's put in some serious work on that, so many thanks to Ella. Lots of people have gone, oh, they finished. Let's finish this off. So, what other things to plug? Patreon supports me to do more of this. There's a new Patreon-only video has just gone up, by the way, as well. So, get on the Discord to find the link to that. Also, patreon.com/GarethDennis, where you can find the link to that little Patreon sneaky video where I have a fever sweat on camera for you all. The Discord is garethdennis.co.uk/Discord, and also the PayPal is great for little loose change things. If you're like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to subscribe, but I enjoyed the episode, have 30p, because that's nice. That's a nice thing to do. You can leave a little message. Patreon people, let me know. Actually, this is a big call out to the Patreon people. If I'm going to go briefly big face for it, Patreon people, hello, Patreon people, are you getting enough? Are there things you think I could do more for you, Patreon people? Let me know. There we are. Brief interlude there. What else? Right, finally the plug. Mr. Tim Dunn was Tim Dunn was on watching this episode earlier. It's a great privilege. I mean, he's a lovely, lovely man. A great privilege to call him my friend. And that was nice of him to join us. But anyway, I'm plugging a thing of Tim, which is always weird because Tim has a far greater audience than I do. But some of you don't necessarily watch Tim's stuff. I hope you've all been watching the Secrets of the London Underground. It's very enjoyable. Jarly, patron and friend of the show, she was on Monday night's episode, which I've not watched yet because I was absolutely ruined with the Rona. But I shall be catching up and I shall enjoy it very greatly. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, the reason I'm yammering on is because on the 14th of August, which is... when is that? It's in 4 days. It's this Saturday. Tim is going to be reading a History of Sodor lecture, and it's going to be brilliant. I don't know how much I can reveal, actually. I don't know how much I can reveal, but it is... There are going to be images... Tim has put a lot of work into this. It's going to be very entertaining. Tim is a very entertaining... If you've not seen Tim doing public speaking, he's really very good at it. It's very funny, and everyone giggles, and everyone is almost immediately disarmed, and it's great fun. So, strong, vigorous recommendation that you sign up for that, because it's going to be live streaming. It'll be live streamed at 7 p.m, and... you can sign up for it on this link, which is basically if you go onto Tim's Twitter feed, you can get the link. In fact, you know what I can do? I can get the link right now because I have it in here. Because where is it? There we are. Just go in here to get the link. Very organised. There we go. That's what I wanted. Copy that, and paste it in here. Here's the link, everyone. That'll hopefully work. Yeah, that should work. If I click that now just to check. Yes, it is working. Marvellous. Click that link, everyone, and you can go and get tickets to watch it. It should be tremendous fun. Provide the support to the Tallaght Llyn, which is a wonderful railway that I absolutely adore. I will do a rail natter from there at some point because they're wonderful. They're a wonderful team up there, really great. They do loads of great stuff. They're really nice. It's wonderful. Anyway, right. So enough waffling, enough effervescing. Go sign up to watch that. It'll be brilliant. So... what else? Oh yeah, that's right. I did drop in the picture of a bit of a hint of things to come. There'll be pictures, but they might not be animated pictures that you might expect. Ooh. Anyway, right, that's enough of that because I'll get told off for hinting and teasing. Right, so the bumper bonus tease of what is coming up, because this is the last live episode for a few weeks, because I'm theoretically and hopefully going to be away on Holybob for a bit. And we'll see how that goes, right? So, episode 75, the next episode, is going to be... I have done this pre-recording. It was absolutely brilliant fun. Bessie Matthews joined us. Bessie's Ballast, raising money for Samaritans. Bessie chatted with us for a nice hour about her artwork. Absolutely brilliant. It's so good. I loved this episode. It was so nice to just go through this. So it's a permanent record. Bessie has raised a huge amount of money for Samaritans, so it's a really worthwhile episode. Strong, in fact, vigorous recommendation that people tune in and watch that. Be really nice. These will be going out kind of pseudo-live like they always do for the pre-records. Episode 76, this I do need to edit together, which is mildly scary because I did a lot of filming. Should be fun, though. Episode 76, the HS2 South Portal, the first of a few episodes from the South Portal, I think. I shall be going back. HS2 will be taking me back to show other things, because multiple massive things are happening from this very small spot. But this one, episode 76, will be about building Britain's longest railway tunnel. There shall be much interesting filming going on, and look forward to that. Episode 77 shall be. This is a bit touch and go, depending on whether I can get to the museum and be safe, be post-COVID enough that I'm not providing a risk to anyone, which should happen potentially. Anyway, we'll see. And it's going to be me, episode 77. Can I natter for an hour in the Railway Museum North Shed? The answer's probably yes, but we'll see, right? I'm going to see if I can do a timer in the corner and do it as a one-shot. See if my phone can survive doing a one-shot wonder. It used to survive doing when I did like a half-hour, 45-minute job on Periscope, so it should survive filming it all in one go. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. And there's an extract from when the famous episode of me and David and Tim when we went around and got very excitable in the North Shed on Periscope. That was good fun. Anyway, so that's episode 77, and then when I'll be back for a live episode. I will be back for a live episode. For episode 78, where we're going to, I'm going to do a bit of a poll at some point towards the end of this week. It's not going to be a live episode, that one. It's going to be a pre-record but it'll be a pre-record of me running around for an hour. for the previous one, the Rail Museum one. No, episode 78, we're going to do a page turn through the first beaching report, because I'll bet so many people who cite beaching and go, ooh, beaching, have never even opened the report, let alone read it. So we're going to do a page turn through the first beaching report, which should be quite interesting. Yeah, so you've got all that to look forward to, a feast, a veritable smorgasbord of stuff that we're going to be going through. People seem to saying they enjoyed the last sort of out and about on location rail natter. I had a lot of fun on it, but yeah. Is it longer than the channel? No, it's not longer than the channel. It's the whole one. It's the longest one within the confines of the UK. Yeah. So last bit of tea. It's no longer tea Earl Grey hot. It's now tea Earl Grey cold. But that's fine. I'm now going to. Are you getting a Transport Fever 2 stream this week? Asks Gregor. Yeah, you will be. I generally don't advertise them on here, but it does. Generally on Fridays at 5:30 is when that happens. Yeah. Right, everyone. Thanks so much. I have got a bit hotter and sweatier, but I don't think it's. I'm hoping it's not fever coming back, because it'd be really annoying if it is. My head's not too bad. I've drunk enough of this fluid to kind of possibly keep me alive. Ella, no, the museum won't be live. It requires too much tech for me to do on location live episodes at the moment. I can't do it with the intro thing and everything happening, so I'll do it as a pre-record. Anyway, the point is that it's a pre-record because I'm still away at that point. I've got 3 successive rail natters I'm missing, but it'll be live-ish. I hope to do live episodes out and about at some point, but it'll require a production team of 1 at least, I think, to make it work. So at some point we'll work that out. We'll have Patreon chat about that. At some point we'll work that out. Anyway, I've been waffling for quite long enough. It's gone on from being kind of short to kind of long. Everyone, I'm still here. I'm still intact. Hopefully, everything shall be as planned for the next month. In any case, take good care of yourselves, and get vaccinated. Cheerio! Cheerio!